packaging and labels for textile businesses all over the world. Our primary clients are clients that are in the Major League Baseball, NFL, sports arena, along with fashion merchandising. We have clients that are like Tory Burch, Cobra Puma, and other clients that are the same. Back in 1990, my father had a small manufacturing business in New Jersey, and the company went under. He did about $3 million a year. He was a super entrepreneurial manager, and following that, he took everything he could and moved the business to South Florida. As I said, the company went out of business, and at the time I was in college. He got us together, my brother and I, and told us to either stay in college and pay for it ourselves or move to South Florida and open the business with him. We had one client in Opelika, Florida, and all we really did was make names and sew them into blank material. We were in the commercial laundry industry, and after the company went under, he used every ounce and every contact he had in order to pull the businesses together. One order led to the next, and my brother and I were filling orders for the years. And I actually remember selling the first order for $350. To give you some perspective, the last day's billing was 6,500 orders and $200,000. The company now has over 800 employees in 8 locations around the world. We manufacture 500,000 pieces a day, and half of which we make same day. Everything's custom with one-piece minimums. In 1994, which was 4 years after we opened, we manufactured emblems in South Florida. We had no way to make the emblems with graphics, so we finally connected with a company in Macon, Georgia, and put equipment together to manufacture custom logos in the United States. Following 1994, we put together our first e-com platform, and the technology we used is the same technology used today. As a matter of fact, it actually saved the business. By 2000, we had about 60 employees and about 10 machines. We were manufacturing about 10,000 pieces a day, doing about $3 million a year. And then a couple years later, we had a situation where we ended up buying a buyer a set of golf clubs. And we lost 1/3 of our entire company. So we were doing $3 million a year, and this was, I think, in the year 2000. We lost, I think, we had $3 million a year. Yeah, we lost $2 million in sales that same year, and 3 months later, my father passed away. So that was a pretty big blow to the company. The next year, we had to make a few adjustments. So my brother and I went out and called on 2 core customers, which was Cintas and G&K, which are 2 pretty well-known brand names. We ended up growing with them in a pretty solid way. You can see here by this graph, if you look at the gray bar, in the year 2000, we had lost that one customer with the golf club incident that took 2/3 of the business away. And I guess this is the point of my presentation today, which is how one customer or 2 customers can dominate a company, and how important it is to diversify your revenue. I'll come back to this slide in a little bit because I have the same point to make in the year 2014. From 2000 to 2013, we still managed to grow the business, but it happened to be with Cintas and G&K, as you can see from the graph from earlier. This is a picture of our plant in Mexico. So from one embroidery machine, we ended up adding close to 1,000 heads, and this is when we moved offshore. Currently, we have more than 3,500 heads, as I said, in 8 locations around the world. This includes England, France, Canada, 5 locations in the US, and 1 in Mexico. But still, we had the same problem, which is more than 80% of our business was for 5 core customers in one market with 4 core products. The embroidered emblem made up more than 80% of our products, though. So now we have 5 clients, which 2 of them make up 65% of our sales, and 1 product that makes up more than 80% of our revenue. And again, we had 600 employees relying on this, so that's a pretty big problem. So my first point today was to decide early on you have a problem. And when I was putting this thing together, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she says to me, well, how do you actually know you have a problem? And my answer was, it was instinct. And her answer was, it's really based on data. So her answer was obviously better than mine. But from my perspective, I'm an instinctual guy. We started the business with a very small amount of people. So my gut told me that obviously we had a problem. We had too much business coming from too small amount of customers in one market. So we needed to make a decision. And the decision we made was new customers, existing products was one choice. We had the next one was existing customers, new product, new customer, new product, or a strategic acquisition. We didn't have the money to do a strategic acquisition, so the one we opted for was new customer, new product. The new customer, existing product would have been good for us, except the problem with that is that we would have just been selling more of the same thing to the same customers. The existing customers, new products would have been the same problem. And new customer, new product was the obvious choice for us. So the next thing we did was sit down and say, what are we best in the world at? So what we decided we were best in the world at was quick turn, small run manufacturing. So as I said to you earlier, we manufacture 100 million emblems a year. That's 500,000 pieces a day. With same day turn, 250,000 of them we ship the same day with one piece minimums. So that's what we determined we were the best in the world at. It wasn't manufacturing emblems, it was just quick turn manufacturing. So we leveraged that. And we ended up picking out a product line that worked for that idea. In order to make that work, though, we needed to make sure the culture, the vision, and the core values of the business supported that initiative. And to do that, we all had to sit down and decide, does this stuff work for us? Like, are we able to make a strategic shift from manufacturing from one set of customers to changing the entire business to sell into these other markets? So we really had to sit down and define who we were and define whether the vision of the business fulfilled the need to diversify the revenue. So my son and I went to Europe. And I ended up taking him to a Chelsea game. And at the Chelsea game, they were wearing uniforms that had these logos on them. And if you come by our booth, you can see them in the back corner. But they had these logos that were this kind of plasticky look. It had this kind of plasticky feel to it. And anyway, so we picked up the license for this product from there. We sent people to Italy and China, and we ended up finally, after 5 years of work, being able to manufacture this product, bring the technology into the US. So you can see on the slide here, this is actually what the product looks like. So it's a substitute for embroidery. It's not actually embroidery. It's got this textured look to it. It's called high frequency welding. The product is Flexstyle. The company that makes it's World Emblem. This is our business. And right now, you can see it on products like here, like the Atlanta Falcons. The NFL uses it now. The NHL uses it on the front of the jerseys. It's on a lot of the headwear you're seeing now. The biggest market that we've seen take over this is the golf market. So 3 years of work, millions of dollars invested, 4 marketing firms, 2 consultants, 1 PR agency, and we sold nothing. So this is after all the time we put into this product line, we still were unable to actually get any traction in the market. So we made the cultural shift as a business that we knew we wanted to manufacture this stuff. We knew we were able to manufacture it, but we were completely unable to actually sell it into the market, which was a whole different problem that we never thought about. And this is my 4th point. In this case, for us, everything takes twice as long, costs twice as much, and makes half the profit. So this was my lesson in this entire thing. And we basically use this for everything we do moving forward. So any kind of planning we do, if we say we're going to be able to do $1 million in something, we cut it to $500,000. If we say it's going to take a year, we double the time. And if it works out better than that, that's great, but normally it doesn't. So we move forward to 2016, and if you can look at these 2 bar graphs here, there's the orange and the blue, and then the next year is all blue. Cintas happened to buy my 2nd biggest customer. So we had 100% of one customer's business and 100% of the other customer's business, and now all of a sudden, both of these companies combine, and we have all this business now with one customer. So now 66% of my revenue is dominated by one market, right? So this is exactly the problem we were trying to avoid. So back to the Flexstyle story, or the Flexstyle situation. We had this product, we weren't selling it, so what we decided to do organizationally was put our best people on it. So we took people off of our core product line, we took our 3 best sales reps off our core product line, and we had them work on selling this existing product, and then we split them out to work on different markets. So after doing that, then we took our other people and put them to focus on the existing customers. So we called them territory account managers, and we split our sales team in 2. The answer to this for us came a couple years later, and it ended up being selling solutions, not products. So after walking 3 years of showing people books and products on trade shows and walking trade show floors, we had no strategy for advertising, no strategy for marketing. We had no way to sell the products. We were so used to selling just one set of core customers. We finally hit one at the golf show, and it happened to be Cobra Puma. Cobra Puma had a problem. They were selling embroidered polo shirts to all of the clubhouses around the country. But Cobra Puma is competing with Nike and Adidas. They're selling the same stuff to the same customers, so all that ends up doing is slicing margin. So what we told them was they can pick this same product, which is a different look, different than embroidery. They don't have to actually send the garments out to the embroidery houses. They can apply the logos in-house. And they can turn this stuff same day, and they can still get the price breaks by buying the product in bulk. And we had an instant win. So we took this one customer from 0 to 7 figures overnight. And it took us 5 years worth of work to do it, but at the end of the day, we hit something there. And the truth is, we just solved their problem. So the issue was, they had a problem, we helped them solve it. It wasn't so much that our product looked better, even though we know it did. What it came down to was there was a specific problem these guys had, and we actually helped them solve the problem. Part of us helping them solve the problem was helping their advertising. So it wasn't just peddling products, which is what we were doing, which is why it wasn't selling in the first place. So we ended up supporting Cobra Puma Golf's marketing and sales by giving them collateral, giving them videos for the work that we did for them, giving them photos of every emblem and logo we did, and supporting them by signing them to distributor agreements and helping them along the way. This is one example of one of the things we've done amongst hundreds, but this particular one was handed out at the golf show, which is one of the largest golf shows in the world. And the 7th point here is to hire the best people for what you're doing, for what you're trying to do, and just pay them a little more. So, again, same situation, right? So we had an existing team that was selling to existing customers, and we had no way to know what it took to sell to these other markets. So we were pretty fortunate in the fact that we hit this one early on. It took us a couple of years, but when I say early on, probably 2 years after we picked up this Flexstyle product line, we had to go out and redefine our tech back office infrastructure, our e-com platforms, the marketing, the sales department. So what we figured out is we really needed to get the right people on the bus, something Jim Collins says, and stay very focused on keeping them, and keeping them focused on pushing Flexstyle out as an individual brand outside of the core. In this case, we're very fortunate to have hired the ex-CMO from Spanx and the ex-CIO from 31 Gifts. Both of these people have gone through what we are trying to do now, which is either define a brand or develop a platform that allows a company to scale. So we knew what we wanted to do, and we went out and found people that have done it before in the same capacity that we were in, and so far it's working for us. And my last point is to create the brand, right? So from our standpoint, what was really important here was this Flexstyle product line we had. We knew we had a winner. We knew we had something people were really interested in. And it's already been picked up by many, many name brands, as I think I indicated earlier, such as the NFL, the NHL, and MLB. So we knew we had a winner, but the problem is it's very easy for this stuff to get knocked off. So what we wanted to do was avoid that from happening. So we have all our distributors licensing it under the Flexstyle brand name, as opposed to just selling it as traditional embroidery. We were very careful about conditioning the brand and making sure that everyone who saw this knew it was just Flexstyle, and that's how we've gotten our distributors to sell it. So we're very fortunate to have been the first ones to the market with this product, and making sure that we own the brand was very important to us. So just to reiterate, my 8 points for diversifying our business was decide diversification is a problem. For me, it was really deciding we had any kind of a problem, making sure you use data to do it, determining what you're best in the world at, making sure your culture, vision, and core values fit the initiative you're trying to accomplish, making sure you get clear when you do your budgeting that everything costs twice as much, takes twice as long, and makes you half the money. Get your best people and put them on your biggest potential opportunity. Selling solutions and not products. Hiring the best people you can afford. Creating a brand and making sure you own that space. If anybody has any questions. Okay, thank you very much.